closer he gets to her, the less it turn out. Yeah, the lovable rebel. For the woman who is drawn to this type, the man who intrigues. For the woman who is drawn to this type, the man who intrigues her as a noticeable disdain for authority, he is unconformist. Unlike the devilish romantic, this man will often be young and not be successful. Unlike the devilish romantic, this man will often be young and not so successful. He will also tend to be outside her usual circle of acquaintance. To have a relationship with him would be ever so slightly taboo. Certainly, her father would not approve, and perhaps not her friends or colleagues. In a relationship does ensue, however, she will see a totally different side to him. He can't hold down a good job, not because he is a rebel, but because he is lazy and ineffectual. Despite the tattoos and shaved head, he is quietly conventional, controlling, and domineering. The relationship will break apart. She will break apart, but the fantasy will remain. The woman with the projection often had a strong patriarchal father who was disdained and strict. The father represented order, rules, and conventions. He was often quite critical of his daughter. She was never good or pretty or smart enough. She internalized this critical voice and heard it in her head all the time. As a girl, she dreamed of rebelling and asserting herself against her father's control, but too often she was reduced to obeying and playing the differential daughter. Her desire to rebel was repressed and went into her animals, which is quite angry and resentful. Instead of developing and rebelliousness herself, uh, she looked to externalize it in the form of rebellious male. If she senses a man might be like this based on his appearance, she will project fantasies that are charged and sexual. Oftentimes, she chooses a man who is relatively young because this makes him less threatening, less of a patriarchy. But his youth and immaturity make it almost impossible to form a stable relationship, and her angry side will come out as she shows disenchanted. Once a woman recognizes she is prone to this projection, she must come to terms with the simple fact. What she really wants is to develop the independence, assertiveness, and power to disobey in herself. It is never too late to do so, but these qualities must be built up and develop in small steps. Everyday challenges in which she practices saying no, breaking some rules, etc., becoming more assertive. She can begin to have relationships that are more equal and satisfying. The fallen woman, becoming more assertive, she can begin to have relationships that are more equal and satisfying. Equal and satisfying. The fallen woman. To the man in question, the woman who some fascinates him, seems so different from those he has known. Perhaps she comes from a different culture or social class. Perhaps she is not as educated as he is. There might be something dubious about her character and her past. She is certainly less physically restrained than most women. He thinks she is earthy. She seems to be in need of protection, education, and money. He will be the one to rescue and elevate her, but somehow, the closer he gets to her, the less it turns out as he had expected. But somehow, the closer he gets to her, the less it turns out as he had expected. Okay. Yeah. What are you reading? I'm reading about reconnect to the masculine and feminine within you. Hi everyone, hi, hi. Hello. कुछ नहीं, हम बुक पढ़ रहे हैं. चैप्टर नेम है रिकनेक्ट टू द मैस्कुलिन एंड फेमिनिन विद इन यू. आई एम फ्रॉम कोलकाता, राजेश. आप सब कहाँ से? म्यूट हो आप शायद. नहीं नहीं, म्यूट नहीं है, धीरे बोल रहा है. आई ऑडिबल नाउ? उड़ीसा से हो? अच्छा. या In Swan's Way, Volume 1 of the novel In Search of Lost Time by Marcel Proust, the protagonist Charles Swan, based on a real person, is an aesthete, a connoisseur of art. He is also a Don Juan who is deathly afraid of any relationship or form of commitment. He has seduced many women of his class, but then he meets a woman named Odette, who is from a decidedly different social circle. She is uneducated, but she is uneducated, a bit vulgar, and some would say she is, yeah, courtesan. She intrigues him. The one day, while staring at a reproduction of a biblical scene from a Botticelli fresco, he decided she resembled a woman in the painting. Now she is fascinated and began to idolize her. Odette must have had a hard life, and she deserved better. Despite his fear of commitment, he will marry her and educate her in a finer thing of life. What he doesn't realize is that she does not at all resemble the woman he fantasized about. She is extremely clever and strong willed, much stronger than he is. She will end up making him her passive slave, as she continues to have affair with other men and women. Men of this type often had a strong mother figure in their childhood. They become good, obedient boys, excellent students at school. Consciously, they are attracted to well educated women, to those who seem good and perfect, but unconsciously, they are drawn to women who are imperfect, bad, and dubious character. They secretly crave what is the opposite of themselves. It is the classic character. It is the classic split of the mother, where they want the mother figure for a wife but feel a much stronger physical attraction to the whore, the fallen woman, the type who likes to display her body. They have repressed the playful, sensual, and earthy side of the character they had as boys. They are too rigid and civilized. The only way they can relate to this quality is through women who appear to be so different from themselves, like Sven. They find a way to idolize them with some highbrow reference that has no relation to reality. They project onto such women weakness and vulnerability. They tell themselves they want to help and protect them. But what really attracts them in the danger and naughty pleasure this woman seemed to promise? But what really attracts them is the danger and naughty pleasure this woman seems to promise. Understanding the strength of such women, they often end up as their pawns. Their anima is passive and masochistic. Men who engage in this kind of projection need to develop the less conventional side of their character. They need to move outside their comfort zone and try new experience on their own. They require more challenge and even a bit of danger that will have loosened them up. Perhaps they need to take more risk at work. Huh? That's it. पता है कितना डार्क सर्कल्स आ गई है. ओके, आनी चाहिए, अच्छी लगती है ना. नाइस टू यू. So you love reading books? Yeah, not earlier, but nowadays I'm fond of reading books. Yes, my favorite is of ये स्वामी विवेकानंद. Hi Bhushan. No, it's not at all. Someone that enjoy playing. Thank you, Light. Wait, I will write it down. Okay. Yes, it's just someone that enjoy playing. Like nowadays, you understand me. You understand me better because I didn't ask. I don't ask you, and you. Thank you. Said is someone that enjoy Martin the. कपड़े. सर कैसे कपड़ लिया हूँ. हम्म. अच्छा यूसुफ. लॉल अच्छा नोटिस किया. They are opposites. Okay. It wasn't in the book. Oh, that's why I didn't find that. Hmm. Nice line, Yusuf. कल भी था आज. Perhaps they need to take more risk at work. They also need to develop the more physical and sensual side of their character. Not having to get what they crave for looking for the fallen woman type. They can actually begin to satisfy their urge with any type of woman. They can actually begin to satisfy their urge with any type of woman. Not passively waiting for her to lead them astray, but actively initiating the guilty pleasure. The superior man. He seems brilliant, skilled, strong, and stable. He radiates confidence and power. He could be a high-powered businessman, a professional, a professor, an artist, a guru. Even though he may be older and not so physically attractive, his self-assurance gives him an attractive aura. For the woman attracted to this type, a relationship with him would give her an indirect feeling of strength and superiority. In the novel Middlemarch, 1872, by George Eliot, the main character, Dorothea Brooke, is a 19-year-old orphan raised by her wealthy uncle. Often raised by her wealthy uncle, Dorothea is quite beautiful and would be a desirable match for marriage. In fact, a local young man named Sir James Chitam is actively courting her. But one evening she meets the much older Edward Casaubon, a wealthy landowner who was devoted his life to scholarly pursuit, and he intrigues her. She starts to pay him attention, her, and he courts her, much to the horror of her sister and uncle. To them, he is ugly, with moles on his face and sallow complexion. He slurps his food and talks very little. Right? Can you tell me the meaning of slurps? Slurps. Yeah, I know that. Anima and animus. Okay, well. कैमरा चालू है क्यों पूछ रहा है Slurp is drinking loudly. Okay. Like somebody drinks tea. They make sound no, while drinking tea. Ah, slurp. Okay, thank you. Slurp. Slurp. Drinking. Drinking loud. Drinking loud. Hearing. He slurped his food and talked very little. But to Dorothea, his face is full of a spiritual quality. He's too above people to care about etiquette. He's too above people to care about etiquette. He talks little because no one would understand him. Being married to him would be like being married to Pascal or Kant. She will learn to Greek and Latin and help him complete his great masterpiece, the key to all mythologies, and he will help educate and elevate her. He will be the father she has been only after being married to him does she discover the truth. He is dead inside and very controlling. He sees her as a glorified secretary. She becomes rapid. She becomes trapped in a loveless marriage. Although the relationship detail might be quite different now, this type of projection is all too common among women. It seems from feeling to inferiority. The woman in this case has internalized the voice of the father and other who have been so critical of her, who have lowered herself by telling her who she is and how she should behave. Not having her developed her own strength or confidence, she will tend to search for these qualities in men and exaggerate any trace of them. Many of the men who respond to her sense her low esteem and find this alluring. They like the adoring attention of a woman, often younger, who they can lord over and control. This would be the classic professor seducing the student, because such men are rarely as brilliant, clever, and self assured as she imagined. The woman either is disappointed and leaves, or leaves, or trapped in her low trapped in her low self esteem, bending to his manipulations and blaming herself for any problem. What such a woman needs to do is first realize that the source of her insecurity is the critical opinion of others, which she has accepted and internalized. It does not seem from her inherent lack of intelligence or worthiness. She must she must actively work at the she must actively work at developing her assertiveness and self knowledge. She must actively work at developing her assertiveness and self confidence through her action. Through her action, taking on projects, starting a business, mastering a craft. With men, she must see herself as a natural equal, as potential, strong, and creative as they are, or even more so. With genuine self confidence, she will then be able to gauge the true worth and character of the men she meets. The woman tells him he is driven and ambitious, but his life is hard. It's a hard, unforgiving world out, and it is not easy to find any comfort. He feels something missing in his life. Then along comes a woman who is attentive to him, warm and engaging. He seems to admire him. He feels overwhelming drawn to her and her energy. This is the woman to complete him or help comfort him. But then, as the relationship develops, she no longer seems quite so nice and attentive. She suddenly has stopped admiring him. He concludes that she has deceived him or has changed. Such a betrayal makes him angry. This made him projection generally stems from a particular types of relations. With the mother, she adores her son and showers him with attention. Perhaps this is to compensate for never quite getting what she wants from her husband. She fills the boy with confidence. She becomes addicted to her attention and crave her warm and enveloping presence, which is what she wants. When he grows up, he is often quite ambitious, always trying to live up to the expectation of his mother. He pushes himself hard. He chooses a certain type of woman to pursue, and then subtly possession her to play the mother role, to comfort, adore, and pump up his ego. In many instances, the woman will come to understand how he has manipulated her into this role, and she will resent it. She will stop being so soothing and reverential. He will blame her for changing, but in fact, he is the one projecting qualities that were never exactly there and trying to make her conform to his expectation. The ensuing breakup will be very painful for the man, because he has invested energy from his earliest years and will feel this as abandonment from the mother figure. Even he, even if he is successful and even if he is successful in getting the woman to play the role, he himself will feel. He himself will feel the resentment at his dependency on her, the same dependency and ambivalence he had toward his mother. He may sabotage the relationship or withdraw his anima, has a sharp, recriminating edge, always ready to complain and blame. The man in this case must see the pattern of this relationship in his life. What this should signal to him is that he needs to develop from within more of the mothering qualities that he projects onto women. He must see the nature of his ambition and stemming from his desire to please her mother and live up to her expectation. He tends to drive himself too hard. He must learn to comfort and soothe himself, to withdraw from time to time and be satisfied with his accomplishment. He needs to be able to care for himself. This will be drastically improve his relationship. He will give more instead of waiting to be adored and taken care of. He will relate to women as they are, and in the end they will perhaps feel unconsciously impelled to provide more of the comfort he needs without being pushed into this. Hi Mayank. It's a nice line. Here's a hypothetical. What a true sadist ever heard a suggest? I don't know. Light. Good morning, Jeet. Good morning. Hi Sandy. Hi Nitish. कैसे हो आप सब? बंगाल से नीतीश, मतलब कोलकाता से। आप कहाँ से हो? The original man. The original man and woman. A common experience for us human is that at a certain point in life, often near the age of 40, we go through what is known as a middle life crisis. Our work has become mechanical and soulless. Our intimate relationships have lost their excitement and spirit. We crave change and we look for it through a new career or relationship. Some new experiences, even some dangers, such changes may give us a short term therapeutic jolt, but they leave the real source of the problem untouched and the malaise will return. Let us look at this phenomenon from a different angle. As a crisis of identity, as children, we had a rather fluid sense of self. We absorbed the energy of everyone and everything around us. We felt a very wide range of emotion and were open to experience, but in our youth, we had to shape a social self, one that was cohesive and would allow us to fit into a group. To do so, we had to trim and tighten up our free flowing spirit, and much of the tightening revolved around gender roles. We had to repress masculine or feminine aspect of ourselves in order to feel and present a more consistent self. In our late teens and into our 20s, we continually adjust this identity in order to fit in. It is still a work in progress, and we derive some pleasure in forging this identity. We feel our lives can go in many directions and the many possibilities enchant us. But as the years go by, the gender role we play gets more and more fixed. We begin to sense that we have lost something essential, that we are almost strangers to who we were in our youth. Our creative energy had dried up. We have lost something essential, that we are almost stranger to who we were in our youth. Our creative energy had dried up. Naturally, we look outward for the source of this crisis, but it comes from within. We have become imbalanced to rigidly identified within our role and the mask we present to others. Our original nature incorporate more of the quantities that we absorb from the mother or father, and of the trait of the opposite sex that are biologically a part of us. At a certain point, we inward rebel at the loss of what is so essential a part of us. At a certain point, we inwardly rebel at the loss of what is so essentially a part of us. In primitive culture around the world, the wisest man or woman in the tribe was the shaman, the healer who could communicate with the spirit world. The healer who could communicate with the spirit world. The male shaman had an inner woman or wife whom he listened to closely and who guided him. The female shaman had the inner husband. The shaman's power came from the depth of their communication with this inner figure, which was experienced as a real woman or man from within. The shaman's figure reflects a profound psychological truth that our most primitive ancestor had access to. In fact, in the myth of many ancient cultures, Persian, Hebrew, Greek, Egyptian, original humans were believed to be both male and female. This made them so powerful that the gods feared them and split them in half. Understand? The return to your original nature contain element power by relating more to the natural feminine or masculine part within you. You will unleash energy that has been repressed. Your mind will recover its natural fluidity. You will understand and relate better to those of the opposite sex. And by reading yourself to of the defensiveness you have in relation to your gender role. You will feel secure in who you are. This return requires that you play with styles of thinking and acting that are more masculine or feminine, depending on your imbalance. But before describing such a process, we must first come to terms with a deeply ingrained human prejudice about the masculine and the feminine. For millennia, it has been men who largely defined masculine or feminine roles and who imposed value judgment on them. Feminine style of thinking were associated with irrationality, and the feminine ways of acting seen as weak and inferior. We may have outwardly progressed in terms of equality between the genders, but inwardly, this judgment still have profound roots in us. The masculine style of thinking is still esteemed as superior, and femininity is still experienced as soft and weak. Many women have internalized this judgment. They feel that being equal means being able to be as tough and aggressive as men. But what is truly in the model to see the masculine and the feminine as completely equal reasoning power and the strength of action, but in different ways. Hmm. Connecting to animal masculine feminine in psychological term is usually known as the oddly also Indian men have this complex, especially who have doting mothers with abusive father. Hmm. I agree with this. But what is truly needed in the modern world is to see the masculine and the feminine as completely equal in potential and reasoning power and strength of action, but in different ways. Let us say they are feminine and masculine styles when it comes to thinking, taking action, learning from experience, and relating to other people. These styles have been reflected in the behavior of men and women from thousands of years. Some are related to psychological differences, some stem mostly from culture. Certainly, there are men who have more feminine styles and women more masculine style. But almost all of us are imbalanced to one side or the other. Our task is to open ourselves up to the opposite. We have only our rigidity to lose. Masculine and feminine style of thinking. Masculine thinking tends toward focusing on what separate phenomenon from one another and categorizing them. It looks from contrast between things to better level them. It wants to take things apart like a machine and analyze the separate part then that go into the whole. It's through process it's near figuring out the sequence of steps that goes into an event. It prefers to uh, loom at things from outside with emotional detachment. The masculine way or thinking tends to prefer socializing to dig deep into something specific. It feels pleasure in uncovering the order in phenomena. It likes to build elaborate structure. Whether in a book or a business, feminine thinking orients itself differently. It likes to focus on the whole, how the parts connected to one another, the overall gets gestalt. Ges- Gestalt. Right? Can you tell me the meaning of gestalt? Gestalt. ठीक है मत करो Lol, you are asking from me what I am doing. Okay. Gestalt. No, that's not. The spelling is Gestalt. Thank you, Krishna. In looking at a group of people, it wants to see how they relate to one another. Instead of freezing phenomenon in time in order to examine them, it focuses on the organic process itself. How one thing grows into another. In trying to solve a puzzle, the feminine style will prefer to imitate on several aspects, absorb the pattern, and let answer or solution come to the individual over time. As if they needed to code. This form of thinking leads to insight when the hidden connection between things suddenly become visible in intuitive flashes. As opposite to specialize, it is more interested in how different fields or form of knowledge can connect to one another. In studying another culture, for instance, it will want to get closer to it, to understand how it is experienced from within. It is more sensitive to information from the sense, not merely from abstract reasoning. For too long, the masculine style has been seen as more rational and scientific. But this does not reflect the reality. All of the greatest scientists in history have displayed a powerful mix of the masculine and feminine style. The biologist Louis Pasteur, greatest discoverer, came from his ability to open his mind to as many explanation as possible, to let them cook in his mind in order to see the connection between wide ranging phenomena. All of the greatest scientists in history have displayed a powerful mix of the all of the greatest scientists in history have displayed a powerful mix of the masculine and feminine structure. Einstein attributed to all of his greatest discoveries to intuitions, in which long hour of thinking gave way to sudden insight about the interconnection of certain fact. The ortho, the anthropologist Margaret Mead used the latest abstract model from her time to rigorously analyze indigenous culture, but she combined this with months of living within it and gaining a feel from the inside position. In business, Van Buffett is an example of someone who blends the two style. When he considers buying a company, he breaks it down into its components part and analyzes them in a statistical depth. But he also tries to get a feel for the overall gestalt of the business, how the employees relate to one another, the spirit of the group as instilled by the man or woman at the top. A lot of the intangibles most people ignore. He looks at the company from both the outside and the inside. Almost all people will lean more toward one style of thinking. What you want for yourself is to create balance by learning more in the other direction. If you are more on the masculine side, you want to widen the fields you look at, find connection between different forms of knowledge, and looking for solution. You want to consider more possibilities, given greater time to the deliberate process and allow for freer association. You need to take seriously the intuition that come to you after much deliberation, and not discount the value of emotion and thinking. Without a sense of excitement and inspiration, your thinking can become stale and lifeless. If you lean more in the feminine direction, you need to be capable of focusing and digging into a specific problem, tamping down the impulse to widen your search and multitask. You have to find pleasure in into one aspect of a problem. Reconstructing a causal chain and continually refining it will give depth to your thinking. You tend to see structure and order as dull affair, giving great emphasis to experiencing an idea and feeling inspired by it. Instead, you need to derive pleasure in paying deep attention to the structure of a book, argument, or project. Being creative and clear with the structure will give you material its power to influence people. Sometimes you need to gain greater emotional distance to understand a problem, and sometimes you need to gain greater emotional distance to understand a problem, and you must force yourself to do so. Masculine and feminine style of action. When it comes to take action, sometimes you need to gain greater emotional distance to understand a problem, and you must force yourself to do so. Masculine, feminine style of action. When it comes to taking action, the masculine tendency is to move forward, explore the situation, attack, and vanquish. If they are obstacle in the way, it will try to push through them. This desire, aptly expressed by the ancient military leader Hannibal, I will either find a way or make a way. It derives pleasure from staying on the offensive and taking risks. It prefers to maintain its independence and room to maneuver. Maneuver. Okay. When confronted with a problem or the need to take action, the feminine style often prefer to first withdraw from the immediate situation and contemplate more deeply the option. It will often look for ways to avoid the conflict, to smooth our relation, to win without having to go to battle. Sometimes the best action is non-action. Let the dynamic play itself out to understand it better. Let the enemy hang itself by its aggressive action. This was the style of Queen Elizabeth I, whose primary strategy was to wait and see. When confronted with an imminent invasion by Spain's vast sea farming armada, she decided to not commit to a strategy until she knew exactly when the armada was launched and the weather condition of the moment, working to slow down its advance and let the bad weather destroy it. With minimum loss of life, instead of charging forward, the feminine style lays trap for the enemy. Independence is not an essential value in action. In fact, it is better to focus on independent relationship and how one move might harm an ally, harm an ally and cause ripple effect to an alliance. It's like whole. Okay, whole. कहाँ गए? Thank you. Okay, just now you want to ask that why I'm not coming live in a daytime, because I have classes. That's why I don't have time in daytime. Oh, and what does she do? Hmm. What does I do? I'm a student. Okay, so first of all, let me give some time. After reading this, then I will reply on your all of your messages. You guys started fighting with each other. It's a normal conversation. Take it lightly. In the West, this feminine style of strategizing and acting is instinctively judged as weak and timid. But in other cultures, the style is viewed quite differentially. To Chinese strategies, Wu Wei or non-action, Wu Wei, Wu Wei or non-action is often the height of wisdom and aggressive action, a sign of stupidity because it's narrow one's option. There is in fact tremendous strength contained within the feminine style, patience, resilience, and flexibility. To the great samurai warrior Miyamoto Musashi, the ability to stand back and wait, let the opponent try himself out mentally before counter-attacking, was critical for success. For those with the aggressive and masculine inclination, balance would come from training yourself to set back before taking any action. Consider the possibility that it's better to wait and see how things play out, or even to not respond at all. Taking action without proper consideration reveal weakness and a lack of self-control. For balance, always try to consider the interdependent relations you are involved in and how each group or individual will be affected by any action. If you find yourself blocked in your career later in life, you must learn the power of withdrawing and reflecting on who you are, your needs, your strength, and your weakness, your true interest before making any important decision. This could require weeks or months of introspection. Seeing of the greatest leader in history honed their best ideas while in prison, as the French would say, reculer pour mixes sorter, set back in order to leap forward. Good. For those with a feminine style, it is best to accustom yourself to various degrees of conflict and confrontation so that any avoidance of it strategic and not out of fear. This requires baby steps. Confronting people in small ways in everyday situation before handling larger conflict. Drop the need to always consider the other side's feeling. Sometimes they are bad people who needs to be thwarted and being empathetic only empower them. You need to be comfortable saying no and turning people down. Sometimes, when you try to smooth things out, it is not out of empathy or strategy but out of aversion to displeasing people. You have been trained to be differential and you need to get rid of this impulse. You need to reconnect to the bold and adventurous speed you once had and widen your strategic option to both offense and defense. Offense and defense. Sometimes you can overthink and come up with too many options. Action for its own sake can be therapeutic, and taking aggressive action can discomfort your opponent. Masculine and feminine style of self-assessment and learning. As studies have shown, when men make mistakes, then tend to look outward and find other people or circumstances to blame. Men's sense of self is deeply tied to their success and they do not like to look inward if they fail. They makes it difficult to learn from failure. On the other hand, men will tend to feel that they are completely responsible for any success in life. This will make them blind to the element of luck and the help of others, which will feed their grandiose tendency. Similar, if this is a problem, the masculine style is to try to figure it out on one's own. To ask for assistance would be an admission of weakness. In general, men will overestimate their abilities and display confidence in their skills. In general, men will overestimate their abilities and display confidence in their skills that are often not warranted by circumstances. For women, it is the opposite. When there is a failure, they tend to blame themselves and look inward. If there is a success, they are more prone to look at the role of others in helping them. They find it easy to ask for assistance. They do not see this as a sign of personal inadequacy. They tend to underestimate their skills and are less drawn to the grandiose confidence that often fuels men. For those with a masculine style, when it's come to learning and improving yourself, it is best to reverse the order. To look inward when you make mistake and to look outward when you have success. You will be able to you will be able to benefit from experience by dropping the feeling that your ego benefit from experience by dropping the feeling that your ego is too tied to the success of each action or decision you make. हेलो. अच्छा है. हम आप कैसे हो? Yes. Benefit from experience by dropping the feeling that your ego is so tied to the success of each action or decision you make. Develop this reversal as habit. Don't be afraid of asking for help or feedback. Instead, make this a habit as well. Weakness comes from the inability to ask questions and to learn. Lower your self opinion. You are not as a great or skilled as you imagine. This will spur you to actually improve yourself. For those with a feminine style, it is easy to beat yourself up after failure or mistake. The introspection can go too far. The same can be said of ascribing success to other. Women more than men will suffer from low self-esteem, which is not natural, which is not natural acquired. They often have internalized critical voices from others. Jung called these animals voices. All the men over the year who have judged women for their looks and intelligence. You want to catch these voices as they occur and read yourself of them. Because failure or criticism might affect you too deeply, you can become afraid to try something again, which narrow your learning possibility. You need to adopt more of the masculine self-confidence without the attendant stupidity in your daily encounter. Try to minimize your emotional responses to events and seeing them from a great distance. You're training yourself to not take things so personally. Yes, you're training yourself to not take things so personally. Good line. Masculine and feminine style of relating to people and leadership. As with male chimpanzees, in a group setting, the masculine style is to require a leader and to either aspire to that role or gain power by being the most loyal follower. Leader will designate various deputies to do their bidding. Men from hierarchy and punish those who fall out of line. They are highly status conscious, hyper aware of their place in the group. Leader will tend to use some element of fear to keep the group cohesive. The masculine style of leadership is to identify clear goal and reach them. It put emphasis on result, however they are achieved. The feminine style is more about maintaining the group spirit and keeping the relationship smooth out. The with fewer differences among individuals, it is more empathetic, considering the feeling of each member and trying to involve them more in the decision making process. Results are important, but the way they are achieved, the process is equally important. Results are important, but the way they are achieved, the process is equally important. For those with the masculine style, it is important to enlarge your concept of leadership. When you think more deeply about the individual on the team and strategize to involve them more, you can have superior result, engaging the energy and creativity of the group. Studies have shown that boys are as empathetic as girls, highly attuned, for instance, to the emotion of the mother, but empathy is slowly drummed out of men as they come to develop their assertive style. Some of the greatest male leaders in history, however, managed to retain and develop their empathy. A leader such as Sir Ernest Henry Skelton was no less of a man for his constant consideration of the emotions of each of the men he was responsible for. He was simply a stronger and more effective leader. The same could be said of Abraham Lincoln. For those of the feminine style, you must not be afraid of assuming a strong leadership role, particularly in times of crisis. Considering the feeling of everyone and incorporating the ideas of too many will weaken you and your plans. Considering the feeling of everyone and incorporating the ideas of too many will weaken you and your plan. Although women are certainly better listeners, sometimes it is best to know when to stop listening and go with the plan you have opted for. Once you recognize the fools, the incompetents, and the hyper selfish in the group, it is best to fire them and to even find pleasure in getting rid of those who bring the whole group down. And to even find pleasure in getting rid of those who bring the whole group down. Instilling a touch of fear in your lieutenants is not always a bad thing. Finally, look at look at look at it this way. We are compelled by nature to want to move closer to what is feminine or masculine in the form of an attraction to another person. But if we are wise, we realize we are equally compelled to do so inwardly. For centuries, men have looked to women as muses, source of inspiration. The truth is that the muse for both gender lies within. Moving closer to your anima or animus will bring you closer to your unconscious, which contain untapped creative treasure. The fascination you feel in relation to the feminine or masculine in others, you will now feel in relation to your work, to your own thought process, and to life in general. Just as with summons, that inner wife or husband will become the source of uncanny powers. What is most beautiful in virile men in something feminine? What is most beautiful in feminine women is something masculine. Susan Sontag. What is most beautiful in virile man? It's something feminine. What is most beautiful? It's something masculine. Sure. Okay. chapter is over now. Next year I will read the next chapter, chapter 13. So you guys done with each other after fighting so much? Theory. Surface level theory. Let's go. Where? Who's fighting? Wasn't me. It's me. I'm fighting with everyone. I didn't blame anyone. I'm just saying. I just kidding. So that I told that where. What is ready? Same chapter I told at that time, na? Masculine and feminine within us. Chapter name is. Today I'm not reading any more chapters. Next day I will read chapter 13, Advance with a Sense of Purpose. Not today. Because it's too late now. For what exam I'm preparing for? I don't preparing for any exam. It's a normal book about human nature. I just go through it for knowledge. It's better na, before sleeping read some pages of the book. The deeper one goes into studying the animal and how it manifests can get complex. Yeah. In this topic, I relate maximum part to the author. Author is saying right about feminine and masculine nature. I agree with him. When I ask you, what do you do for a living? You say, study. Yeah, I'm a student. Can you please tell me the name of this book you are reading? Yeah, why not? The name of this book is The Laws of Human Nature. Yeah. Yeah, right. Huh. Does human have an environment that can create a safe place to develop? It really is. So, hmm. But humans destroy the nature, no? They didn't make any place best. They make the nature's worst. They misuse the gift that the nature gifted us. See what's the situation in today's time. No country is safe, and nobody is safe in anywhere in this world. So much world fighting with each other's countries. See, America and Iran. Just because of their ego, they destroy so many things. They didn't think about once, uh, about discuss, about harming another's countries. I didn't go to the college. My college is over. I'm reading the book about human nature. Oh, like you like this chapter? Yeah, good question, love. Ask from light. Light will explain you. Yes, yes, I know. This book is written by Robert Greene. Let me show you. See? The author provides no proof for his conclusion. Everything don't need any. Everything doesn't require any proof, no? Something is just like as it is. I'm from India. And where are you from? I think you take it too seriously. Okay. That's why you asked. No need to worry. I will manage. Everyone manage during their student lifetime. I think you also. Nobody working while they were reading or they were in a student life. Okay. Those who are rich, only they can study. And what about others? Okay. You have so to see everything about painting. So you like it or not? Tell me which painting is this? Let me prove things need objective fact to see the picture. Hmm. Yes, you're right. It's Ganesha, Lord Ganesha. I don't know you guys like this generation or not, but I didn't like this generation because when the phase of our grandparents now, those times are the best times in human nature, in human lifetimes. That's greenery, that's honesty, and their innocence. When the lights off, when the power cut, all the people came outside of their home, sit together and talking with each other, sharing the good moments or bad moments. Just they gathered together and sit. They feel the real bond. At that time, neighbor also feel like their own family members. But nowadays, it's not possible. Oh, thank you, Lord, for your rating about this picture. No, it was not. That's not nostalgia. It was. Hey, yeah, it was nostalgia, but that time was the greatest time. See, at that time, people don't use phones. They have no phones and um, motorbikes and luxuries. Nowadays, all the people have. At that time, the bond between the peoples around them are more genuine than these times. These time peoples are like a rat race. They from morning to night, they everyone will rush towards their works. They don't know who live near in their neighborhood. And nowadays people are more money magnetic and materialistic. They lost the bond between the peoples. More genuine, more honest, more charming. We lost this touch. So that's the time was the best according to me. I like the time. That time. Nostalgia isn't miserable. It was a meaningful part of life. Yeah, absolutely. Lol. That shapes your teenage and adult personalities. Yeah, definitely. That part is what we see we become. That's the time we fixed, we absorb, we see that moment now. We, what do I say? In our mind or in our brain, somewhere that moment is still within us. And nowadays we just recall those moments and feeling happy. I don't know what do you guys feel about this, but I genuinely feel so. There was no internet. Yeah, absolutely. Because there was no phone, so there is no internet. Pivotal minute? Same. I'm not here to tell you how to feel, but people were miserable. At that time, people were miserable. Why are you saying this? At that time, people were too good, too honest, too genuine, too helpful. You see, nowadays, people are more helpful and genuine and more kindness. No, not at all. pivotal, the most important, I say. Huh? Why you disagree? There were feminine, there were genocides. In today's life, now the people are more, yeah, people discover more the new things. We have luxuries that at that time we didn't have any like luxuries. We are more hardworking at that time, but nowadays we make our life easier by so much materialistic things. This is the benefit of this generation. Genocides, yes. No, we are talking about majority of people in the past, not the lead group. Things have gotten better, not worse. Yeah, definitely. Things are things have gotten better, but only in the field of materialistic things, all the gadgets and all. But see, we people nowadays connect to the internet. We people nowadays connect to the people who are far from us, but not connect to those who are near to us. Earlier, when we have our when we go to our family function or we have a marriage in our relative, we go earlier than 1 week ago or 2 week ago, and everybody do the works and enjoying that moment. No, nobody hire caterer or any outsider. They all family members or neighborhoods came and do the all the works with happily. But can you see these things nowadays? No, not at all. The people are pure, but the leaders, yeah. In politics, these things are happen. The main thing is the people. The most of the people, the common people are the purest. Yeah. At that time, see the age of the people, they live 100 and 102. But nowadays, only 60, 65, and the most 70. That's it. And the condition of our health is all also deteriorate, na? Yeah, there is a benefit that we connect to the people across the world, but the disadvantage is we lose the touch who lives nearby us. Yeah, this is the true fact. That time there is no, they don't have so much money, na? But whatever they have, they live happily with it. People live longer and healthier now. In which country or in which state you see these things? I'm totally disagree with you. Nowadays, people live longer and healthier. No, that's totally wrong. People at that time, people live healthier and longer. I see the hair and skin textures of the people of earlier. Our grandparents also, male grandparents, also have that so much hair in their head. But nowadays, the young ones, especially the boys, they lose their hairs. Why? Because of the atmosphere. Okay. It's like that you like these generation or these decades. You don't like earlier one, no? Okay. But I like earlier ones. Okay. Thanks for being here and helping me a lot. That's all for today. We will meet you again today or tomorrow. Ta-ta and bye. Infant mortality has been raised to the highest level. Yeah, this is the point. History. Yeah. Your last point is right. Yeah. Bye bye. Bye bye, everyone. We will meet again tomorrow, okay? Ta-ta.